Please enjoy this message from David Arquette sent in by the fabulous Carrie Tenney.
Hey Ryan, how are you? Thanks for doing the Scream podcast.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
You are listening to Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast for Scream fans just like you. Join Ryan every week as he takes a deep dive into the horror film series that defined the 90s and redefined the genre. Scream with Ryan C. Showers is your source for scene and quote analysis, character dissections, and the latest news about upcoming installments of the Scary Movie franchise.
I hear you like horror movies, Kirby, but do you like them as much as him?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers, and I'm sitting here with the creative producer of Scream with Ryan C. Showers, Ashley Summers of Squirrel and Spud. Hey, Ash.
Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good, thank you.
So who is, between you and me, who is Squirrel and who is Spud?
I really don't know. I was just trying to think of a name one day. I was up late and I had all these ideas racing through my head, and I thought, if I don't do this right now, I'm not going to do it. And I thought of what are two things I love, and that was squirrels and potatoes. And so, I've never met a potato I don't like. I've never met a squirrel I don't like. So put it together.
Well, I had a big salad with a lot of French fries tonight, so I will be potato. I'll be the Spud, and you can be the squirrel.
Okay,
so.
Perfect. I love that.
So since we're on the topic, tell everybody what Squirrel and Spud is.
Yeah, so I have an Etsy shop called Squirrel and Spud. I make different types of pop culture inspired keychains, tote bags, stickers. So anything from Scream, Buffy, and Taylor Swift. I try to make them a little subtle, a little bit sand coated. So if you know, you know. And then I also have my Instagram account, which is Squirrel and Spud 9, where you can find memes, and Ryan and I are posting a lot of fun collabs, little games that you can play that are all Scream coded. So definitely check it out.
You know, the fun thing about Ashley, so Ashley, if you can believe this, this is the, we've been doing this, you've been the creative producer now for over 2 months, which is wild to think. Thank you, first of all, thank you.
Yeah, it's been so fun.
It's been so much fun. I've really enjoyed having you and TJ and all of the changes that have come to the podcast, and we still are rolling out changes. In fact, there is a big change coming this month in 2 weeks, and then there's another big change not far over the horizon. So, but like Taylor Swift would do, I'm waiting to announce that big change until after we get to the first big change, because Taylor Swift. If I've learned anything from Taylor Swift, it's have a plan and don't spoil everything. It's just make everything into an event, and I think that is. I've learned a lot of things from Taylor Swift, and that's one of them in terms of just business strategy. But so Ash,
yep, she knows what she's doing.
She does. So Ash, this is a very fun and different episode. So it's funny, there have been a couple times when I've done this podcast where I have been nervous. Okay. One of which was interviewing Radio Silence. I mean, actually interviewing Mary and Madalena. That was a huge nervous thing for me. Doing Joey's first script, Scream 7, huge nervousness. Doing the episode after Melissa was let go, huge nervousness. And we did something today where I haven't really been nervous since Melissa was fired. But I did something today where the nervousness was back, and it was kind of a fun thing. So Ashley, why don't you tell everybody what you and I did 13 hours ago this morning?
Yeah. So 6 a.m. your time, 4 a.m. mine. We did the very first, Ryan did, and I sat quietly and watched the first commentary for the Patreon, and it was so fun. We watched the craft, and I listened to Ryan and all of his thoughts, and I was blown away. He was so good. It was so much fun. I think everybody's going to have so much fun listening to all of your opinions. You went a little off on one character, and I am excited to see what people's reaction is to that. And it was just really fun hearing like a different perspective, but you have so many facts intertwined in there and little pop culture moments. And I think everyone's going to really love it.
Well, so, and I have you to thank. So, we are doing so basically one of the big new things to Scream with Ryan C. Showers that has yet to roll out is this month. So not this week, but next week. So next Thursday, if you're listening, on the release date here. So April 17th, I will be releasing the very first audio commentary of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. So what I mean by this is, like Ashley just described, we sat down and we watched The Craft, and I did a filmmaker style commentary like Wes Craven did for the original trilogy or Scream 4, where he talked through, the symbolism, the filmmaking, the character work, the meaning behind the film. That's kind of what I'm planning to do every month for the special bonus Patreon content. For a long time, we always had like a special Patreon episode of the month, and it was on a Tuesday. So it occupied like a main show slot. So now what we're doing is we're getting away from that. So there won't be any privatized episodes. It's going to be every Tuesday. It'll be a public episode available to everybody. But then on the middle Thursday of the month, we are going to release an audio commentary. So it's very, very cool. And I'm really happy to be starting out with The Craft. It's a movie that it's not like I grew up watching The Craft. Like some people did, like Ashley didn't. And freak, Ashley, I did not mention the sleepover aspect. You can mention that after I'm done. I didn't mention that in the commentary today. Crap. So I didn't grow up watching The Craft, but I chose it strategically for the first commentary because it was the teen horror movie in 1996 that came out right before Scream. It stars Neve Campbell, it stars Skeet Ulrich, and it occupied the culture a little bit and warmed up the culture to horror and teen in the 90s. And I just think, it was kind of poetic for my journey with these commentaries to start here. And the thing I liked about The Craft, and I think it will show as people listen to the commentary, which by the way, I think you can listen to as a proper commentary with the movie on and listening to my thoughts as you're watching the movie. But I also think you can just play it as a normal episode to the podcast, driving in your car or on a walk, and I think it will play fine. But the other thing I liked about The Craft and choosing it is there is a lot to this story. There's a lot of depth to the themes and the characters, and that's my favorite thing to do, is to talk about character arcs and how characters grow and change, and like acting and filmmaking and what writing means, like the allegories, the symbolism, and The Craft is full of that. So it was very fun to do this morning. So Ash, thank you for sitting with me. So this was not a planned thing. So Ashley, her job with The Craft was she was tasked to help me with notes. So for instance, if I stumbled or froze up during the recording, I could look to the outline that she gave me and I could just pull a fact just to plug into the microphone so there wasn't dead air. So Ashley worked really, really hard on getting me detailed notes of facts about the movies, kind of the timeline of the movie, music that's used in the movie, and in addition, her commentary here and there. So she did a really nice job, and that was the extent of it. That's all I asked for, and she just happened to be awake, and she's like, well, do you mind if I join? I'm like, sure. So it was actually fun to do it this morning with Ashley, kind of there with me as it was going on. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I had so much fun. I am a night owl that sometimes is up way too late or early, I guess you could say, and I was like, well, I'm still awake. I might as well listen to Ryan talk about something. And then, eventually lulled me to sleep after we were done.
So, tell me about The Craft and tell me what I kind of just, or tell the audience what I kind of teased about the sleepover aspect.
Yeah. So I think The Craft is one of the most perfect sleepover movies. I can't say for young boys, but I can definitely say for young girls, it was the movie that I always, if I had a friend who was coming over and sleeping over that night, if they had never seen it, I was like, okay, this is a must watch. Now, watching it back as somebody who could literally is old enough to be somebody's mom, I'm watching it being like, oh my goodness, there are some really dark plot lines in that film. But also there's a lot of strength. And I think Sarah is so incredibly brave. And I think that's what so many young girls turn to, or having these girls that are weird, but they're still so cool. I think it's really inspiring. And I would always, it would be The Craft. And then because some people were always scared after, we would watch Now and Then after, who has like Christina Ricci, Devon Sawa, all the classic horror people too. And it was just the best night ever. And I will tell you guys, light as a feather, stiff as a board, definitely works. You can literally pick people off of the floor. I don't know how it works. It's not like in the movie, but you can pick somebody up because we picked my friend Cassie up and I don't know how we did it.
Oh my gosh. Well, so can I ask, because like I would like to give The Craft its place for people who don't subscribe to the Patreon, who just listen to the main feed. Like, so The Craft came out in 1996, literally like 6 months before Scream did. And it's just so coincidental that Sydney and Billy, right, Nev Campbell and Skeet Ulrich were in this movie in prominent roles. Like I would say that like they're both like there's the four girls and then there's Skeet Ulrich's character. Like those are the main characters in my opinion. It's just so funny to me that they were not only in a movie together in the same year, but a horror movie in the same year as Scream, that they would go on to play the legendary, heroine and antagonist of Scream 1. So did you know, what was your relationship between The Craft and Scream? Like, did you see The Craft first or Scream first?
What is seeing The Craft first? I think my mom like let me watch that movie. She was not wanting me to watch Scream when I was younger. I'm not really sure how that choice was made, but because I feel like I would rather have somebody watch Scream than The Craft because it's so dark in some parts. But like they show more gritty real life darkness in The Craft. But I definitely watched The Craft when I was younger. It definitely put like this thing in me where I feel like I was inspired to watch shows like Buffy, and those were like the girls I wanted to be when I was younger. I never wanted to be a Disney princess or any of this. I wanted to be Sarah, and I wanted to be Buffy, and I wanted to be Sydney, and I like grew up hating Skeet. Like I like not in like not actually like I was like, oh, he's in this movie, I'll watch it again. But I've never been one of those girls who was like, oh, I can change him. I'm like, girl, no. Like maybe if he was just a little brooding and like liked listening to the Smiths a lot, that's fine. But like this guy was a little bit too intense. And I just feel like there's like a lot of lessons for young girls in all of those movies. And I'm really glad that they were there for me and showing like this different side of girlhood and a different version of the stereotypical girl that you got in a lot of films.
Well, so it's funny, like Ashley and I, or the way our braids are wired, okay, as Scream Swifties. So Ashley was saying that whenever she was growing up, she didn't want to be a Disney princess. I'm like, I'm not your princess. This ain't our fairy tale. And then
exactly
go on. She's saying, I was never the girl that thought, oh, I can fix him. No, really. I'm just teasing. Okay. So gotta stop. Okay. But no, I love everything that you said. And I agree with you because like there was something, another thing about The Craft, and I'm glad that we did it first. And like I'm kind of sad about The Craft because like now I've lived with The Craft for like 6 weeks, like really studying it, really getting under its skin. And plus then, I met Robin Tunney at the 90s Con last week, and I saw Rachel True. I didn't get to meet her. So The Craft just feels very, very close to me right now. And now I feel like I'm sad because it's over. And now I have to go on to stupid Final Destination and get ready for that next month. But, I was really glad that we did it for the reasons that you just mentioned, specifically thinking about Buffy and Charmed and just kind of like the era around Scream, because I've always tried to emphasize the time in which the original trilogy came out. And there is a certain vibe, and The Craft fits into it. The Craft, I would argue, kind of started it in a lot of respects, and launched, what would go on to be the Buffy, the Scream world, right? So I love everything you said about girlhood, and you're right about how dark it was. Like I kind of, as we were watching it today, like I don't know why. I don't know if I was just because Ash and I were doing this together because I was just so focused on the movie today. But the ending gets really dark for The Craft. Like in fact, like I feel like I was so like had such a negative, like visceral reaction to someone in the craft, that I'm like, am I even gonna be that harsh when it comes to the Ghostface killers? Probably not, but there's just, like Ashley said, some really real life stuff, but I loved it. I had such a wonderful time watching it. So, and doing the commentary and going on the journey with you, Ash, and TJ and Albert. Like, this is something really cool. And like, I left feeling so artistically fulfilled today doing the craft. And I left with so much love for the craft. And I don't want to spoil much else about, things I say about the craft, but I'm a massive fan now. And I have to say, this is something I didn't say on the podcast. Again, God, Ryan, where was your head? So I actually did not like the craft when I first saw it. I saw it once. I rented the VHS back whenever I was like in junior high school, in my time for Scream, and I rented it and I didn't vibe with it. I didn't click with it. There was something about it that like kept me at a distance because, even though it is kind of launching the Scream era, it doesn't have the Scream isms in a lot of respects. Like, there's a different vibe to it, like a different directorial vibe that's more 90s. That's more like Party of Five than it is Scream. And I think that didn't click with me the first time. But over time, I remember after Zach Cherry did his craft episode, I watched it again and I really, really liked it. And now, after watching it 4 times in the past month, I can say I am a huge like heart fan of the craft. So, but yeah,
It's such a good movie, and I think something that like I've realized about the craft versus something like Scream or Halloween, because there's something that's really like scary about the craft, but I think what's scary about it as a horror film, which it doesn't quite feel like a horror film, but it is, and like it feels like one, but it doesn't. But like the bad guys don't wear masks.
No.
Like the bad guys are just regular people that are
Mhm.
making choices. And those are like the real bad guys that like we actually face in life. So I can see how like a young person might be watching it, be like, this is too much. Like, this isn't as fun as, like, this isn't what I'm looking for in the moment. But like, as you get older and you're able to see all of those things kind of from a farther past journey of like your life in high school or life as a teenager, you kind of think of all like the villains you actually like got through in your life, who aren't masked usually. And I just feel like it's such a beautiful film to be able to go back and feel really proud of yourself for making it through like adolescence. Like, no matter
Yeah.
who you are, like, you've all had a struggle, and they might not be the exact same as all of the girls in the craft, but there's definitely someone in that movie that I think most people can relate to. And it's just, for a movie written by men, I think they did a really good job of like capturing some aspects of girlhood. And sometimes that doesn't come across, I find. Sometimes I'm like, girls would never say that or never do that. But I think they did a really good job. And if you haven't seen The Craft, I highly recommend you watch it and then tune in for Ryan's commentary, because I think you'll have a lot of fun hearing all of like the fun things that we've learned about it while they were making it, or just his insights, because even he had completely different opinions on a couple characters that I had. And now thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I think Ryan is on the nose here for his perspective, when I had thought of it completely different, and I've been watching it since I was 13. So
Yeah. So I want to ask, so in the commentary, at the end, I described who I think I most relate to. And it's a combination of, I'll just say it, I don't care. I said, like, I think I can relate most to Bonnie and to Rochelle. It's a good mix of them with a dash of Sarah. Like, there's definitely a Sarah in me. But with Bonnie, like, there is like, going from feeling ugly to hot, or that like glow up, I definitely experienced. And I also could identify with Rochelle in terms of the way that she is kind of otherized by Marsha Brady in The Craft, and like she's explicitly a racist. So and I know that racism and homophobia aren't the same thing, but they're cut from the same cloth in terms of somebody who's in the in group picking on somebody who's in the out group because of who they are. And I definitely experienced that. So I think that like of the cast, like I would say Sarah's strength and like the strength she finds within herself, but then the specifics of Bonnie and Rochelle. So Ashley, what about you?
For me, I definitely would probably say Sarah. I definitely dealt with like some mental health struggles when I was a teenager, and I found her so powerful. And also, her storyline with Chris hits a little close to home for me. And I really love her bravery. Like something that like I feel more like that. Like I felt like really inspired by her. But
Mhm.
also, to be fair, I did go to school looking like Bonnie most days.
Oh.
I was just like, I don't care if my hair's done, or I never like like hardly ever wore makeup except for one day I had to, and a boy came up to me. He's like, you actually look pretty when you wear makeup. And I like, looked at him and I was like, thanks. It's like I I think I was very blessed, like with like the family I had to like really not give a crap
Yeah.
about like somebody's opinion of like that about me. There's certain things I care about, but like what I look like on the outside, like I think I'm a cis white girl, so like I never had too many things thrown at me. But I love Sarah so much. I think she's so brave. She even just like not giving into peer pressure. She tells Chris that he's making her uncomfortable in parts.
Mhm.
She and also like, I really love her relationship with her dad. And like they don't explicitly make her stepmom a bad guy, which I really like. And I
Yeah.
really love her relationship with her family. And I just find her so I feel like a lot of girls could see themselves in her. And just also like being in that part where like you're seeing people make these choices. And um I was a real intense rule follower, goody goody, like never really did much many of the bad things. And I would have been like, oh gosh, you guys, like this is not good.
Aw. Well, I see that. And like, one thing that watching it with you today, I don't know why so it's just funny because like, I don't really watch movies with people who aren't Brent or my sister just because of proximity, so it's just fun. It's rare to like, do this. So it was fun to watch it with Ashley. And I don't know what about watching it with you this morning. But it just like, I felt the strength of Sarah's arc even harder. And I don't know. It's just a weird thing. I don't know. So, but thank you for everything you said here. I had a great time, and I please everybody. So again, next Thursday, the craft will be available to Patreon subscribers. It will be available to anybody who is subscribed at any tier. And the video, so we're attempting the video. TJ Jones, our graphic designer, he really wants to try to push the envelope with like a visual reaction. So I recorded myself. We'll see if we're able to make it happen. But the video will go up and it will be available to subscribers tier 2 and above. So in addition, if you want to join the Patreon, not only do you get the audio commentary, which will be well worth it, but you're supporting me, an independent entity. Any money that is given to the Patreon goes back into the show. And in addition to that, you get to come to the Zooms every month, and it's a recorded Zoom. We do an episode topic about Scream that turns into a weekly episode, which is very cool. So you have an opportunity to be on the podcast every single month, which is cool. In addition to other like one-on-one episodes that I'm doing, like I'm so booked in April with I'm trying to hit Patreons who've never been on the show before. I'm really trying to like get some fresh voices here before we end the season in June. And of course, we have the chats, on Instagram and Twitter and the group on Facebook. But first of all, I just have to say, like, the Instagram, it's funny to me, like Twitter used to be like my main source for the podcast. I think I built the podcast almost on the back of Twitter. And I didn't want to give up Twitter, even whenever Elon bought it. I was holding on really tight, and I'm still there. But me on Twitter, it just facilitates me on the other platforms like Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, has kind of like become my new home, and I didn't choose it. It felt like Instagram kind of chose me in terms of like the how centralized the podcast has become to Instagram now. So it's very cool. Anyways, so we have a couple more things to cover here before we go into the main episode this week. The main episode is very unique, guys. Okay, so I went to my first ever convention this past week. And I went with our friend Carrie Tenney, the fabulous Carrie Tenney, who we got to, we announce every week on the show. She got David Arquette to say hello and thank you for recording the podcast. And I met David Arquette and he said the same thing to me in person. So, but going forward, you're going to hear kind of a docu-style episode of me going to the convention and kind of like my experience after meeting each of the people. I chose not to record whenever I was with them just because that moment's for me, something I'm going to keep for myself. But I wanted to live the experience and everybody could hear hear how I actually sounded in the moment after meeting everybody and kind of what Carrie and I got into while we were there. So that's to come. But before then, we have I couldn't have picked no one could have picked a better song to tie together The Craft and the 90s Con. Ash, what is the Taylor Swift song of the week?
So the Taylor Swift song of the week is Willow, one of my personal favorites. Willow is on the Evermore album, which is a sister album to Folklore. This album came out in 2020, was definitely a huge surprise to many of us Taylor Swift fans. It's the last track. And this was written by Aaron Dessner and Taylor Swift, produced by Aaron Dessner. I feel like a lot of people who aren't huge Swifties into like the super poppy songs might really enjoy this song in particular. When this song first came out, I literally pictured her standing over a cauldron and like mixing a love potion. Like that's what I pictured. It always felt so like witchy to me. And it's not like the song lyrics are exactly stating that, but it does feel like someone's like, oh, like the lyrics do kind of sound like they're casting a spell, like wanting this love to happen. And all the musical elements are so fun. And then when the Eras tour finally came out, I feel like everybody finally saw a representation of what they were picturing. Because if you haven't seen it, Taylor and her dancers come out in like these cloaks and they have these orbs that they're dancing with. And it feels very witchy, like to the point where people saw it and there was like Christian correlation. Oh my gosh. Christian groups saying, don't go to the Eras tour. It's witchcraft.
Well,
yeah, we've known forever that Taylor Swift is capable of witchcraft, guys. And it's just, and then there was the lyric, which I feel like you need to say, which ties it so amazing to the 90s Con. But it also does have this like 90s vibe that's like rolled in through the song throughout.
You know what's funny about Willow is because like, this is Evermore overall is like, and first of all, Evermore and Red are my favorite albums, and like they're kind of polar opposites. Like Red is a very mainstream album that's very deep, whereas Evermore is a non-mainstream album that is, or at least not what you would think of in terms of the pop, the Shake It Off, the Bad Blood. It is, it's storytelling, it's emotional, it's detailed. Like I think that her best lyric writing is on this album, and it's funny because Willow isn't even like one of my favorites from Evermore because like I literally genuinely love every single song on fucking Evermore. But like, so it's hard for me to rank them. And like, I really like Willow a lot. Like it would be one of my favorite singles she's put out. I remember hearing Willow on the radio in 2020, because it was the released single to go along with the album. Like I vividly remember it. I know all the words to it just because it was on the radio so much before I even became a Swiftie. And the great line that Ashley alluded to here, why we picked this song for the 90s Con. And then it just so happened, right, that this song also features like witchcraft imagery in the Eras tour, in the music video with the cloaks and the orbs and like the dancing and like the spell that they're kind of conjuring. So it's the perfect representation for this for this episode in every single way. But she ends the chorus saying, "Life was a willow and it bent right to your wind, but I come back stronger than a '90s trend." And I love that. And I've used this line many times. I use it to describe Neve Campbell in Scream 7, and just like what Kevin Williamson and Neve Campbell coming back to Scream and Courtney Cox mean to fans and mean to fans like me, in terms of like how the franchise is coming back and it feels like the 90s again. So, Willow. So Ash, here, I want to just dive a little bit deeper into Willow. Like for a long time, like I told you, I know this song. I know every word to the song without even trying. Yet it took me a long time to figure out what I think this song is about. So what would you say you think that Willow is about?
It's hard because it is one of those songs where I feel like you could have a lot of different opinions on it. I connect it to like it's so funny because Evermore is an album where like I will connect some of the songs as if like they're characters in my mind, and like she's experiencing different things like at different times, even though like it's not specifically necessarily meant to be like that. But I connect a bunch of the different songs. But to me, it sounds like somebody who fell in love, like almost like love at first sight. And then is slowly trying to figure out how to make this work, and like, how can I make this person love me, and how can I get you to reciprocate these feelings, is kind of how I always felt about it. And almost like dreaming of cheating on somebody but not doing it. I don't know how to explain it. Like there's just these like illusions and these imagery that like goes through my mind that I can picture what it's about, but I can't articulate it as well as I feel like I can other Taylor Swift songs, which is something I really, really love about it. I love that I don't like, I have a clear image, but I can't quite explain what that image means to me or what that image might mean to her or others.
I'm so glad. Like, I'm so relieved to hear you say that, because like I have been like, even though we picked this, like I knew it was coming. Like I didn't even really decide what I thought it was about until today. I was like, Ryan, you have to figure it out. Like, cause like, I don't know. I felt stupid because like I know the song, it has amazing music, like underneath, like the orchestra, underneath the words, and it has great words and great imagery, but I've never been able to figure out what she's talking about. But here's what I think that she's saying with this is, I think that you're right. And I basically agree with you, but I'm just going to phrase it in a different way. I think that she does love, I think she did fall in love with someone, and the love isn't necessarily reciprocal yet. It could be, but I think that she's in love, the guy isn't, or the person isn't, and she's trying to not convince him, but like, she feels overcome by the love that she has, and but it's not being reciprocated yet. And I think like she's trying to almost convince him into, or him or her into the idea of being in love. And like it's the way that she describes it, it's so, she's trying to justify it based on the deep emotions that she's actually feeling. And I think that that's kind of, I think that like when you look at a lot of the songs on Evermore and frankly Midnights and Folklore, I think there's this common thread of like her not really fitting in with the love that she has for somebody, or the person she loves not loving her in the way she needs to be loved back. And I think like, I don't see Willow as an inherently sad song. Like the beat is kind of uplifting. Like it's not a depressing song, but in some ways the lyrics are a bit sad. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, I think it definitely has like that duality to it where if you weren't really paying attention to the lyrics, I love listening to the song in the shower and I'll just be like dancing. And then sometimes like I'll catch myself like really listening to like what's happening. And I'm like, oh, like it's not as fun as it necessarily feels. But like saying life was a willow and I bent right to your wind. To me, that's just it being like almost like changing yourself or coming up with like, I remember when I liked a boy, I would if I found out he had certain interests, I would be like, oh, okay, he really likes this series of books. Like, I'm going to go listen to them so I have something to talk to him about. Maybe he'll like me then. Um, and then, or like begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she's saying, like, I just like want you, like obviously, I want you to literally take my hand and just like change the course of where I imagine my life going, or I have to call up my girlfriends and say, oh my God, he finally asked me out on a date, like as literal or as non-literal as you want it to be. And I think it's like one of those songs where maybe she like is kind of like writing from a experience of like maybe like a younger perspective. Because I remember when I met my partner now, I was so confused because I didn't have to try to make
Mm-hmm.
him want to hang out with me or like want to spend time with me. Like I found him looking into my interests and being like, oh, hey, I watched that show, like that I listened to that song or I watched that show you mentioned. Like that's really funny, or that video. And it felt reciprocal, like of us both being interested in the other person's interests, where Willow feels like she's just trying so hard to have this person see her the way she sees them. And it's just one of those songs that's like kind of haunting,
Yeah.
but in like a really fun way. Like it doesn't necessarily like make your heart ache. It just kind
Mm-hmm.
of makes you like, part of me is like, oh, I'm so glad I don't feel this way anymore.
Yeah.
But I feel like somebody could listen to this song and just be crying in their pillow at the same time.
Well, let me tell you, and this will ease us into the 90s con. After I left the 90s con, I was kind of like, I was euphoric and I was like glowing and smitten after the 90s con because I think I thought I fell in love with somebody I met. I actually texted everybody. I mean, like, I texted some of my friends. I was like, guys, I think I'm in love. So stay tuned for that. It's not, you'll know who I'm talking about. So, Ash, this has been a really wonderful talk. Thank you so much for covering the craft with me. I just love you to pieces.
I love you too. That was so much fun. And I hope everybody please tune in to the commentary. I think you'll have so much fun.
Awesome. All right. I need to thank, of course, Albert Padilla, our technical editor and producer. I need to thank TJ Jones. By the way, we are recording on his birthday today. So happy birthday to TJ. TJ, I'll just take a second. Like, you have really revolutionized like the visuals of this podcast. Like every time like there's a new episode that comes out, each image that you're creating for like the episode post is better than the last. Like it's so, your work is so great. And it's just part of this whole like revamp of the podcast that was kind of unexpected over the past 2 months that, Ashley has been a part of, that TJ has been a part of. And of course, Albert's always there. So, I just, I thank you, TJ, and I thank you, Albert, and I thank you, Ash, for being my team. This is so fun. I also need to thank everybody over at Patreon, but specifically my mama Ghostface, Carrie Tenney, my daddy Ghostfaces, Corey Wilson, Stevie Shears, and Brett Janovich, and the Sab investors. They are Allie, Tamika Jones, Chris Beatty, David D, Garrison Nichols, Gustavo Mora, Jess Mariano, Joey Nabrini, aka The Vault, Josh Calamari, Josh Carr, Kevin Abner, Mark Vieira, PWO5, Sam Levy, and Scream Queens podcast, both Josh and Justine. All right, everybody, please stay tuned for the rest of this episode about the 90s con. We come back stronger than a 90s trend. God, why do I sound like such a dad? Every time I try to make a Swiftie joke, I sound like I'm making a dad joke. God help me.
I like it.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, this is Ryan C. Showers. I am about to leave to go to the 90s con. So this is Friday, March 28th, and I'm bringing this episode to you, and it's going to be a different episode. It's going to be a different kind of episode. I'm going to be giving you like a docu-style episode. So basically, from here on out for like the next, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, I'm going to give you voice memos of me at the 90s con in Hartford, Connecticut, which is very cool. I don't know how this is going to work, if it's going to be cool or not, but, I've gotten a million questions about, oh my gosh, Ryan, tell me everything about meeting this or that. And, so I was thinking, why not just record along the way? That way everybody can experience how I experience it, so we'll see how it goes. This is my first ever convention. So I'm kind of nervous. This is not in my wheelhouse. This is not something that I'm typically comfortable with, like this type of social situation. Like I do much better whenever it's like a small group, not necessarily like, 1,000 people. And plus meeting celebrities is also just kind of nerve wracking, especially people like the ones you're about to hear, like that I, talk about every week. There's almost like this weird third wall. Like in some ways, like Nev and David and these and Courtney, they aren't like, obviously they're real people, but like they're almost like subjects that I study, and it's weird to like be met with David Arquette in the flesh. So it'll be interesting for sure. Also, just going out, like this is so out of my comfort zone to be like, first of all, I don't like big crowds. It's not my thing, but also just like the type of social situation. It's just, I don't know. It's just not something that I'm used to or that I have done before. The closest thing I've done to a convention was actually during COVID. It was virtual. There was an event fundraising money, and the cast of Scream appeared, and there was a panel and there were questions and stuff, and this was right after Nev finished filming Scream 5, so it was very, very cool. And I actually was able to meet her one-on-one over Zoom, so we talked for a couple of minutes on Zoom, and like it was a weird thing because like my sister went to a One Tree Hill convention years ago, like maybe like 2017, and she told me like she cried after she met them, or after she was done meeting them. She walked away, and it was like a couple of seconds later she started crying. I had the same experience when I met Nev, actually. Like I was on Zoom with her, very nervous. We had a nice chat. I told her what I loved about Scream 3 in particular, because she knows I had my Scream 3 poster in the background, and I said, well, it's my favorite movie and I think that you're amazing in it, and blah blah blah. And after I got off with her, it was such a surreal experience. And like, if you remember, this was Ryan C. Showers before this podcast. Like, so I mean, this was a very green Ryan C. Showers. And I just remember like after I hung up with her, like about like a couple minutes after, I just had this release of like tears. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen at the convention. I mean, Nev won't be there, and she's like my main person, right? Nev and Courtney and Sarah Michelle Gellar. Like those are the three that I think could really get the tears out of me. I hope I don't cry in front of David Arquette. That would be really embarrassing. So we'll see. So, I hear from people all the time who go to these conventions, like what they talk about with the celebrities when they meet them. And I don't even know what I'm going to say to David and Matt and Skeet and Rose. And I had no idea, right? Like it's weird. It's weird to break a third wall, where I do this podcast, and it's like, again, like it's like I'm studying them, like they're and like so it's weird to puncture that, and that's partially why I don't really have an interest in putting the work in to do interviews for the Scream people, just because like to be objective, I want to say what I want to be able to say without having to look over my shoulder like, ooh, is Skeet gonna get mad at me because I was honest about his performance, or I didn't, or about Billy's inclusion in Scream 5 and 6, like so like it's just whatever. So the lineup is that I'm going to meet David, Matthew Lillard. So David Arquette, Matthew Lillard, Rose McGowan, Skeet Ulrich, Dermot Mulroney, Jamie Kennedy. And then I also want to meet Lacey Chabert from Mean Girls and The Party of Five. That would be, really, really cool. I may hit up the girls from The Craft. I'm not sure, because as you guys know, I'm doing the audio commentary for The Craft. So I don't know. So we'll see. An important thing about this event is I'm going with my friend Carrie. So Carrie Tenney, she is Mama Ghostface in the world of the podcast. She convinced me to go to this convention. I otherwise probably would not have gone. There are a couple of things about this convention that are appealing to me, which I will get to in a minute, but I just want to thank Carrie for pushing me to go to this and like really have this experience, whatever it's going to be, and be able to meet everybody and get autographs and do whatever regular fans do. So thank you, Carrie, and thank you for kind of holding my hand through this all. There were specific reasons I wanted to do 90s Con as my first convention. The first of which is, Nev Campbell was supposed to be at this convention. So I actually said to Carrie, like, I'll go if Nev is there, but if Nev isn't there, I don't want to. So I kind of waited and waited. I bought my ticket thinking that we were safe. But then, a month later, the Lincoln Lawyer was announced as having been renewed. So, that they were starting to film around the time of the 90s Con. And I'm thinking, well, if Scream 7 finishes filming at the beginning of March, and then Nev has to go straight to set, she's not probably going to come to 90s Con, and that's ended up what happened. So she canceled about like a week or two before the convention, which was really sad for me, but I decided I still wanted to go because meeting all these other people was important, as just as well. And plus, like, in some ways, maybe it was a good thing. Like, I think if Nev were there, I would be so distracted about her and about just her presence and like wanting to, meet her, so like, in a way, like you take the big distraction away and I get to enjoy meeting, the other cast members of Scream. So, but that was also a big part of it too, was the fact that Scream 7 was just wrapping up. And I wanted to be there at the convention with Neve Campbell after she finished filming Scream 7. I thought that would be a really cool story to tell in retrospect. So another reason I chose to come to 90s Con is the lineup. First of all, like, my podcast and who I am and my interests and like the types of things that I love relate strongly to the 90s and like this vibe, these people, like this specific moment in time. It's me. So I thought this was an appropriate thing to do as opposed to going to one of the big horror conventions or like, just a science fiction convention. So I thought this was like very appropriate. Also, frankly, I was trying to avoid being at a convention that Melissa Barrera is at. Frankly, I do not feel safe being at the same convention that Melissa Barrera is at because of, frankly, her fans. Her fans are very toxic, very dangerous. And, I've received many death threats from them and personal information being posted online and just, frankly, harassment from her fans because of everything that has transpired since 2023 in terms of Scream 7 and the fact that I have been supporting the film and supporting Neve Campbell to return. Her fans have really been the worst of the worst. Like, I mean, she should be embarrassed of her fandom. And I would not feel safe being at a convention where she's at because of her fans. So and she obviously didn't do any work in the 90s. So there you go. Perfect. Right. But yeah, to be honest, guys, I'm actually very nervous about doing this convention just because, I may come across as an extrovert on the podcast and online, but I'm not really. I'm more of like, I'm a really nice blend of like an introvert and an extrovert. So this is not a social situation that I'm typically comfortable in, but we're going to try it and we're going to try to have some fun. So yeah, I'm attending this convention with my friend Carrie, who, by the way, is the same Carrie who at the beginning of every show, we have David Arquette saying, "Hey, Ryan, thanks for doing the Scream podcast." That's same girl. So it's actually a kind of a full circle moment, right? Because Carrie got that clip of David Arquette thanking me for doing the podcast. And now I'm going to a convention with Carrie to meet David Arquette. So it's so fun. So her friend Sam is going to be joining us. I've never met Sam before, but she's from Scotland, which will be very cool. Also, there will be people at the convention that I know, at least two other people. I hope to meet some other people who are fans of the podcast or who follow me on social media. But my friend Adam Bushi, who is on this podcast August or September of 23, he is the guy who is in charge of Small Town Weirdo. He makes the designs. He is the owner of that little shop. So he has a booth at the 90s Con. So I'm excited to meet him in person. I've just known him virtually for years. So it's cool to make that connection physically, right? And my friend Jasper will also be there he and I co-moderate a Facebook group, and he has a YouTube and he's a very popular content creator as well and does a lot of Ghostface stuff. So it'll be nice to meet him. But so it'll be a really fun weekend, I hope. Also, one last note, I kind of toyed with the idea of meeting them or, getting a press pass, but I decided not to because I've literally never done this before. This is something brand spanking new for me, a very first time experience. And I want this to be me. I want this to be about me. I don't want this to be about the podcast. I want to recount what happens, of course, and how I'm feeling and to relay that information. But I want the actual moments of me interacting with David, interacting with Rose, interacting with Dermot to be for me, as a fan deep down. Plus, who knows what kind of embarrassing shit I'm going to do when I meet them. So, we got to keep that stuff under lock and key, my friends. Okay. So everybody, please enjoy. I have no idea what's coming up, what to expect, but here we go. Bye. All right, everybody, we are now standing outside of the convention center ready to go in about an hour. So it's very cool. I actually got recognized by somebody, a follower of this podcast. His name is Eric. So Eric, if you're listening, hey. So I'm standing here with my friend Carrie and her friend Sam. Hey, Carrie.
Hi, everybody.
and Sam.
Hi guys.
Not Sam Carpenter, but you're a photographer and you're awesome. So
Thank you very much.
Cool. All right, well, we're about to go in. I just wanted to share Carrie. So I arrived to a bunch of surprises from Carrie. I like a framed Scream 3 poster from artwork by God, I think his name is Mario. I don't know. It's like a animated drawing of Scream 3. It's so pretty. And she has like a stab like picture like of like the passes that Maureen and Phil had at the beginning of Scream 2, along with other stuff. So, and a water bottle for the convention. So, very exciting. Carrie, thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
So the goal is to hit Matthew and Skeet tonight, I guess, and then build up to David tomorrow because Matthew and Skeet, really long lines.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we'll try to make this work. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Okay, everybody. So I just met David Arquette and Jamie Kennedy. So crazy. So how it went. So actually the plan was to get Matthew and Skeet today, but Matthew, he is doing photo shoots instead of signing the whole time, or being at his table, I guess. So Skeet already had a line a mile long, so it was like destined that I was supposed to meet David Arquette first, and honestly, it was so great. Like, he came out wearing like this green, all green, weirdly, right? I don't know why, but he looked good. He had his hair, it wasn't like the normal Dewey look. It looked like his hair that he had in the movie with Drew Barrymore. It was just all down. So we actually had a decent place in line for David. So it went somewhat fast, but there was a lot of build-up, and like he came out, it was just like, oh my gosh. There's this like theory that David's kind of short in real life. Not necessarily. Like, he's pretty much my height, which I was surprised by. So I got up there. I got an autograph from me and my sister. So, I mean, one for me, one for Abby. I actually got the picture of the trio from Scream 4, the photo shoot, Entertainment Weekly, where they're standing and they're holding the ghost face mask. Wonderful. So I went up. I got the picture of Dewey at the Sabathon with the gun for Abby, my sister. So we went up, and I put up my hand and I shook his hand, and I said who I was, and I told him, I'm Ryan Showers, I have a podcast about the Scream movies, and he said, oh well, ironically, he said, thanks for doing the podcast, and I was just like, whoa, because that's also what he says at the beginning of the intro of every episode. Thanks to Carrie, right? I already had given my phone to his handler, so I wasn't able to record anything, which is fine. I mean, some people have suggested that I should have gotten him to say that again. I didn't. So it's all good though, because the handler actually, as I was sitting there talking to him and he was signing my autographs, he got a bunch of like pictures in the moment of us talking, and so it was very, very cool. And God, I can't remember what else we talked about. I told him, of course, that I'm a Scream 3 guy. I told him that I think Scream 3 is peak Dewey Riley. I told him that he had leading man energy in that movie, and he was kind of caught off guard by that. He giggled. It was fun. And we, got a picture. They turned out really nice. And I asked him if I could give him a hug, and he gave me a big hug. And it wasn't actually like, I was actually kind of watching other people, and no one else was hugging him. So I was like, this is weird, right? So I, being myself, I asked, and he gave me a real hug. I felt his fingers in my back, which was cool. So, very, very fun. Great experience. So then after that, we just hopped over to Jamie Kennedy's line, Randy. It was a very short line, so I got a picture of Randy in Scream 2. It's when they're in the Baskin Robbins. He has his finger up, you know. So I got that. I went up to Jamie. Again, I put my hand out, shook his hand, said who I was, what I do, and he was kind of surprised. So he asked, how many episodes are you up to? And I said 207. And he said he was shocked. He's like all about Scream. He's like, oh yeah, I got to listen to that. I'm like, you don't have to. I mean, it's all right. But I told him that Scream 2 is my favorite Randy, and that I love his video in Scream 3. I thought it was very emotional. He was kind of goofy, in the way that he talked. It was weird, but the cool thing about Jamie Kennedy is he has like this cell phone light, like a circular light. So the selfie turned out really, really nice. Has great lighting, and he did it himself. Like, he took my phone and did it. So very, very cool. Very nice to meet him too. So, all right. Well, right now I'm currently in line with Sam. Carrie is in line to meet Ethan Embry, whom I do want to meet at some point because he is in Scream 7. But we are in line to meet Skeet Ulrich next. So he is out doing the photo shoots and stuff, but we've seen him. He was actually the first person to come out that we could see that we were around of all the other stars. And I was just like I was starstruck whenever he first came out. I was just like, oh my gosh. So very cool of Skeet. And he's really, really nice, but man, he is churning through them. Like the amount of people that love Billy Loomis is crazy here. I mean, the Billy Loomis sensation is real. So, okay, check back. Okay, so day one is over. We just left. In the interim, who have we met? Oh, so we were in line for Skeet. Skeet had to go. He came back. But in the meantime, I met Robin Tenney from The Craft with Carrie, which was fun. Carrie and I met Ethan Embry, who is in Scream 7. Of course, he was tight-lipped and didn't say anything about it. But the best thing was Skeet Ulrich. Ending the day with Skeet Ulrich was kind of so great because the sweetest guy. So, like, you know, when you're in line waiting for 2 hours, you know, for him, you kind of see the pattern of behavior. And this dude, let me tell you, like, he hugged everybody at first. You know, talk, hugged again. So great. And whenever I got up there, I shook his hand and I got my hugs. I told him, we talked. He saw my shirt. I told him about the podcast. Blah blah blah. Very nice, super friendly. Spelled great. Wonderful way to end the day. So, Skeet was so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, so day one down. Been a blast, everybody. Been a blast. Hey everybody, so I just wanted to check in. I actually met Rose. She was the first person I met today on Saturday, the second day. She was really lovely. I talked to her about Scream and Jawbreaker. I told her, how much of a magnetic actress I think she is, and she joked and said something to the effect of, she took one acting class and thought she was better off on her own, and turns out that she was. So that's very cool. So of course I'm talking about Rose McGowan, Tatum, and from there, Patreon friend Allie, she actually previously got me a Rose autograph with a Tatum Sydney picture, so I opted for a Jawbreaker picture. I feel like I'm cheating on screen, but it is what it is. Apart from that, then, of course, we talked a little bit and we got a photo, and I'm wearing my long sleeve Scream with Rancy Showers shirt. The first day I wore the short sleeve, and my sister actually got me this long sleeve one back before the podcast was just getting started. And on the very first episode of the podcast, Abby said that Scream means family, so that she put that on the back of the long sleeve shirt. It's actually a really nice quality shirt, but whatever. Thanks, Ab. So Rose's handler, like one of her staff who was taking the photos, she noticed the quote, and so she said, Rose, look at the back of his shirt, and she made a big deal about it. She loved it, and she thought the podcast was so cool. So very nice. So I'm actually in line now for Matthew Lillard, which is exciting. This is not even noon on Saturday, and I almost have 5 of the 6 Scream people taken care of, which is so cool. So I am almost there to meet Matthew. So, and then after that, I'm getting an official portrait with David Arquette, which is awesome. And so Dermot Mulroney, not only did he flop the acting in Scream 6, he's still not at his booth. Like, he wasn't there at all yesterday. Now I don't see anybody over there. Like, what the heck? Like, come on, get with the program. So last night I talked to Robin Tenney from The Craft, and the lead actress from The Craft, and I told her that I was doing The Craft for a commentary episode, not an audio commentary. I told her I was studying The Craft the past couple of weeks, and Matthew's flexing, yeah, okay. And she kind of struggled to think of, she's like, I said, is there anything you could tell me that I could include in my audio commentary? And she's like, my hair, because in The Craft she apparently shaved her head a week before she was supposed to be cast, so she had to wear a wig. And when they're on the beach, their altar of the rocks and the fire got washed away while they were filming. That's all she got, but she was very, very nice. It was nice to meet a non-Scream person. So But this is a very fun experience. It's fun to see so many people here in Scream attire. I mean, like, I know my community within the podcast. I know, like, the online communities. But, like, to see it out in the world, out in the wild, where, 70% of this convention, like, has a Ghostface or a Scream shirt on is crazy. Or holding the different props and the different memorabilia. It just shows the deep well of love for this franchise. And not to take this to a negative place, but, like, it makes me think, like, this is like Scream 7. Like, how, the idea that it could possibly die from a boycott or that people would abstain from it is just so wild to me. Seeing the actual human being love for this movie in real life, in person. So it's truly an experience that's very cool for me to see, because I see Scream as such a personal thing to me, and then to see other people have that love for it, not just hearing about it or online through the podcast or on Zoom with the Patreons. Like, it's just a very, very cool thing. So I like it a lot. And I wanted to just give a shout out to, I think her name was Grace or Gracie. She and her father approached me, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, are you the guy with the podcast?" And apparently this girl loves the podcast, and she listens to it, and that I changed her mind on Scream 3, which is nice to hear. So there you go. Hey everybody, so I just met Matthew Lillard. He was really nice. I was kind of having a stressing moment of pure anxiety because his line wasn't moving. Like, there were so many VIPs that they had to let through, and I thought that I was going to get screwed because I have David Arquette, my official professional photo shoot with him at 1:05, and it was going on like 12:40, and I was like, oh my god, no. So thankfully we were able to get through, and I went up, and I have a picture of him holding the gun in the kitchen, signed to him when he says Sharon Stone, and he signed it, and he I said, my name is Ryan. I shook his hand. I told him who I was in terms of the podcast, and he was really surprised by the fact that there were so many episodes of the podcast, and like the weekly coverage of like the breadth of topic. And also one thing about Matthew is I have been told by everybody who's ever met him that his hugs are great, and I can attest his hugs are pretty amazing. He's pretty enthusiastic. He kept the crowd waiting, but like in a fun way. He came out and into the crowd and kind of gave high fives. So I guess I got a high five earlier too, but I waited 2 hours for this guy, but it was good. So okay, we're on to David Arquette Saturday edition, which is fun. So he's the first person I'm meeting twice, and I guess I'll be meeting Skeet and Matthew twice for the official professional photo shoot later on today. So really successful day at the cons. So I am sitting here with Carrie. We are in line for Lacey Chabert, who is Gretchen Wieners from Mean Girls, or Claudia from Party of Five with Nev. So I really wanted to meet her. I wanted to get her autograph for my boyfriend. He loves Gretchen and he loves Mean Girls, and we quote it all the time, so I thought it'd be something really special. So, but I'm sitting here with Carrie. So Carrie, what do you think of the 90s convention so far?
It's a lot of fun. I love seeing all the people, what people wear. A lot of people, I have an animated backpack, so people have really been stopping me about that. But I just love seeing all the celebrities. I love hearing the fun music and just talking to people who love the same stuff that we do.
Well, so and just for context, Carrie's backpack, it is literally animated. Like, there's a screen and it has like each of the Scream title cards. So Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 4, Scream 5, Scream 6. And then it has like 90s stuff after that. So it's very cool. And a lot of people have stopped her. So it's been fun. So I also just wanted to say I got my picture with David Arquette, and it turned out beautiful. I can't wait to post it, and it's probably gonna be my new profile picture. I don't know. It's really great. And I have my Scream with Ryan C. Shower shirt on. It's perfect. So I'm so happy with that. But on my way out, I ran into a friend whom I know from Twitter, Stacy Langenkamp. Hey, so Stacy, it was so cool to meet you. He messaged me on Friday. He said, "Hey, I think I saw you at the 90s Con." I was like, "Well, you did." So it's so fun to meet people online, out in the real world. So yeah. Okay, Carrie, anything else you want to share?
No, just you want to meet celebrities and have fun, 90s style, come to 90s Con.
Yeah, it's very fun. So we just got through Lacey Chabert's line. So that is, again, Gretchen Wieners from Mean Girls, or Claudia from Party of Five. So it was a really nice encounter. So I had her sign something for my boyfriend. We talked about and joked about fetch, because Brent is obsessed with that word and making phrases happen, whatever, doesn't matter. So one thing I told her, though, I said, I told her about how much I love Mean Girls, because it actually is one of my favorite movies. So we haven't really talked a lot on the podcast, but I love Mean Girls. So I wanted to meet Gretchen Wieners, who I saw the movie when I was in 3rd grade in theaters. So cool. But more importantly, I wanted to talk to her because I'm watching Party of Five now. I'm watching Party of Five and Dawson's Creek, so it's really cool to talk to Claudia as well. And I said to her, Nev, what was it like working with Nev? And she got so warm. Like, she looked at me in the eyes and she was like, "Oh, Nev is like my sister. I adore her. Blah 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 blah." So I felt a real sense of kinship between them. How she described it. And it seems like they really care about each other. And it's fun because you don't really see pictures of Lacey and Nev together much, or really Nev with a Party of Five people. But it's nice that they have that connection, allegedly. So I don't know. Okay, well, so Dermot's line, Carrie and I are literally at the end of it, and he seems to take his time talking to people, which is nice. I can't wait for my turn, but there's probably 70 people in this line, so I don't think it's going to happen before my photo session with Matt and Skeet, in a couple hours, but we'll see. So, but anyways, all right, thanks. Okay, wow. So I just got done with Dermot Mulroney, finally. Oh my God. So before that, I went to my photo off with Matt and Skeet. It's really nice. It's a really good photo of us. It's nice to have a picture like that with the original Ghost Faces. It's so cool. But I just met Dermot Mulroney, and it was quite an interesting thing, okay? Because, I had pre-gamed that I would go up to him and I would tell him that he was my Scream crush, or that he was my crush. And I did. So, we started talking. He saw my shirt. He read my shirt. And he said, so is your podcast about Scream, or is it about Scream 6 or about Scream in general? I said, well, it's about Scream in general. I think he was kind of really fishing for me to say that I was the biggest Scream 6 fan ever, but, not going to do that, not going to lie here. But I did tell him that I have been a fan of his since, I saw him in my best friend's wedding. And I said, you were my crush back then, and you're still my crush today. And it caught him so off guard. He kind of took a step back and he laughed, and he gave me a big hug right then and there. And then, so we kept talking. He said, so as a Scream expert, did you know it was me when I was announced? I said, oh yeah. The minute you were announced, you were in Oscar-nominated movies. You're not messing around. And he laughed, and then he wrote on my photo. I have the picture of him with the poster of Scream 6 with the knife, and he wrote, to Ryan, with love and a heart, Dermot Mulroney, Detective Bailey. And he said, when Detective Bailey tells you it's with love, you know it. You know that he means it. I was like, oh my God. And then he gave me another big hug after we took our picture. Oh my God, that was like some flirting here, right? Oh my God. Okay, so this is the last day. We've come to the end of the road here. I am going to be heading home now. I decided to not go for the last day. I'm pretty exhausted, and I have a good drive ahead of me to get home, multiple hours, and just to get ready for the work. The work week. I have to get back into reality here. But the great thing is, I accomplished so much in the past couple of days, in terms of I got every single Scream person that I wanted to get. I got every non-Scream person I really wanted to get, and then some, in terms of autographs, in terms of pictures, in terms of just the general vibe of everything. I feel incredibly fulfilled with this convention. It was an amazing first convention. I resisted them for a long time, and I don't know why. It was a really fun time. This was the convention to start with for me. It was such a great lineup. yeah, I'm filled with nothing but love and joy. The only missing piece here was Nev, right? Because she couldn't make it to this convention after initially thinking she could. Besides that, I had a really flawless time this weekend. I ended yesterday with Dermot Mulroney from Scream 6, and everything else. He's been acting forever. And it was like the most amazing, perfect last person to end on. He was so nice. I've just been even I woke up today, I'm just kind of glowing from the Dermot effect and in our conversation. So it was such a cool experience. So really, honestly, everybody I met was really nice, and the vibe was so cool. The fact that so many people from the podcast or who listened to the podcast that recognized me and came up to me, and we got pictures. It was a cool thing. And so I wanted to rank my Scream people, the people I met from Scream, in order from my favorite to my least favorite in terms of just meeting them and what they were like and who I vibed with. This isn't about this isn't anything determinative of their character or I really enjoyed meeting them all. So if I had to rank them from best experience to least best, I would go number 1, Dermot. I can't even believe I'm saying this. The person who kind of railed against Scream 6, he was magical. Oh my gosh. So we did the Valentine's Day episode a couple of weeks ago where we talked about our Scream crushes, and I mentioned him, but there were a couple other people in the running, but solidified, put it in the books, written in stone. It's Dermot Mulroney. Oh my God, wonderful guy. Number 2, I would put Skeet Ulrich, which I was not expecting. I like Billy Loomis a lot. He's obviously a top tier killer, a top tier character, but meeting him was different than I expected. Maybe I didn't have any expectations for meeting Skeet, and that's why I had such an amazing moment with him. I just found him to be so warm to everybody, but when you're talking to he very, very sweet, genuine connection, right? Whenever you talk to him. So loved him. And yes, in my Valentine's Day episode, I did say, I was over my Billy Loomis crush. I had it when I was younger. It's coming back around, people. He's very charming in real life. Wow. So number 1, Dermot. Number 2, Skeet. Number 3, David. Yeah. It's funny. I thought David would be number 1, but he was, I really enjoyed meeting him. It was definitely the moment of the trip for me too, as well as just because I'm a trio person. I'm an original trilogy guy, and Gail and Sydney and Dewey are my people. So getting to meet the trio member was so cool. He had to be the representative of the trio this weekend, and it was nice. I got a picture with him, a professional photo. He was the first person I spoke to. He was a little bit more reserved than I was expecting, just based off of interviews and the set footage where he's kind of goofy. So wonderful time. We talked about Scream 3. It was wonderful. Then I would say Rose. Rose was really, really nice. Very cool and chill, but unique. I think she was probably the most unique person of the group in terms of what she said and how she spoke. And she loved the quote, from Abby from the podcast Scream Means Family on the back of my shirt. So she made a big deal about that. I really enjoyed meeting her. 5th, I would say Matthew Lillard. I liked him. It was a nice moment, a nice talk, and he is obviously so fun, and he puts on a big show for everybody there. And I really enjoyed meeting him. And then last, I would put Jamie Kennedy. It was nice to talk to him. So yeah. So those are the Scream people. I can't really put together everybody else right now, but those are my Scream people. Had a really nice time meeting everybody, and just I didn't really get to talk much about my friend Adam from Small Town Weirdo. I stopped by his booth every day, talked to him, hung out with him and Jasper, and it was really nice to meet them in real life. And yeah, so the merch was great. Honestly, the vendors were overwhelming. I didn't want to I was spending so much money on everything else this trip. I was vendors. I knew I was going to go to Small Town Weirdo and get stuff from him, but I did end up. There were a couple of things I got. They had somebody had a shirt of Sydney, Nancy, Lori, and Julie James, which I got. It's a really cool and clean design. I forget the name. I'll have to, whenever I post a picture of me wearing it, I'll put the thing. But I also got these magnets. I know this sounds so stupid, but somebody was selling magnets of 90s posters, Scream, I know what you did last summer, Halloween, which is the 90s, but The Faculty, Cruel Intentions, and The Craft. I think those are the ones I got. So Anyhow, okay, well, I'm excited. I love my autographs so much. Of course, like I don't want to like beat a dead horse here, but like Dermot deciding to ride with love. Oh my God, swooning! I can't. So I can't wait to give Brent and Abby their autographs. So of course, Brent got You Made Fetch Happen from Gretchen Wieners, Lacey Chabert, and Abby got one from Dewey. So David Arquette. So very, very, very cool. Yeah, so I posted some of my pictures. I posted pictures from like the first day of me just with the actors from Scream, and like David, Skeet, and Jamie, and everybody on the internet went wild. So I have better pictures coming today, but you will probably have seen them by the time you're hearing this. So I'm excited to post, like, because I'm going to post like the pictures of me and Matt and Skeet from and me and David from the professional photo. And I kind of just say, like, being sandwiched between Matt and Skeet, like, first of all, they were so warm, and like they were both like really like, I mean, like, and they do this every night. I'm not special, but they like really cuddle you in. Like I felt enveloped by the killers here. It was very cool. I decided I'm going to make Dermot a special post just because it was such a cool thing, So I hope he gets to see it. All right. Well, maybe I'm rethinking Scream 6. Dermot, like, maybe that's what I needed. Maybe I needed to be Dermot Mulroney to be like, to change my tune about Scream 6. Finally, right? Everyone who loves Scream 6, who listens to the podcast is like, it's about damn time, Mr. Showers. But yeah, I also had a great time with Carrie and Sam here. It was just a really nice, wonderful weekend. So I hope everybody enjoyed this little mini-series of my experience going to the 90s con. So, and next time, Nev Campbell, be there. All right, everybody, take care. Hey, everybody. So just wanted to let you know, I arrived home safely after my long journey driving from Connecticut to Pennsylvania. And there is something else I have to talk to you about before I sign off. Just when you think it's over, it's not over. So this is a nice little epilogue. So I arrived home after my wonderful weekend with the 90s con and the Scream Stars. And I arrived home to a package from my friends, Jacob, Matt, and Tim from the Happy Horror Time podcast. And it was a magazine from the year 2000, month May, issue 40. It's the Total Film magazine with Scream 3 on the cover, with Nev and David and Courtney on the cover. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, it's not the Entertainment Weekly cover. It's the other one. David's in the middle. He's looking kind of scary. They have like a black and white background. Courtney has the bangs. I love this photo shoot. Like, there's actually a lot of nice photos of them from this shoot. So it's so cool. I don't have this magazine. And in my group chat with my friends over at the Happy Horror Time, we were talking about something the other day. And they, Tim brought up, he said, Ryan, do you have this magazine? I said, no, but I have this one. So I didn't think anything of it. This was so not on my radar to receive this. But it is truly a collector's item. Like, I mean, it's, it looks and feels like something from the year 2000, but it is so beautiful. And like, the gesture here is so kind and thoughtful. So just need to give a huge shout out to my friends at the Happy Horror Time podcast. So touched by this wonderful act of generosity. I cherish this, and I will forever keep this near and dear to my heart in my collection. So thank you, Matt, Tim, and Jacob. Hey everybody, it's Ryan C. Showers, and I have an exciting announcement to share with you all. So we are entering a new era, a new phase of the podcast, and this phase includes audio commentaries. So many of us grew up whenever, there was a physical DVD, Blu-ray that contained an audio commentary by the filmmaker or actors or producers or whomever was involved in the production. But basically, it would be, the filmmaker talking over the movie as the movie played, and adding different context, adding their interpretations of stories and character arcs and themes and whatever else, in addition to filming stories and just stories about production. So, this was such a really cool thing, especially for, again, people who grew up in the Scream era, because the Scream commentaries with Wes Craven and Marianne Maddalena specifically were legendary. And, a lot of the commentaries surrounding the Scream adjacent movies were also legendary. Like, one of my favorite commentaries ever is from Cruel Intentions, Roger Crumble. And now it is my duty, my honor, my excitement to bring audio commentaries to this podcast. I couldn't be more thrilled to take on this journey. I've actually been asked by people since I started the podcast if I was going to do commentaries for the Scream movies or the Scream adjacent movies, the movies from the Scream era. And it's always been something I pushed into the future. I didn't know how or when I wanted to do it. I knew it would be a big task, and I wasn't quite sure how we should do it. However, since we are going to be shifting things in the Patreon now, so people who subscribe to the Patreon used to get a bonus episode every month. It was a main show, a weekly episode released on Tuesday that was just privatized for Patreon subscribers only. So now instead there will be 4 episodes every month that are released to the public on Tuesdays, and then there will be one audio commentary that is available for subscribers only. So it's a really cool feature, I think, and one I think people will really fall in love with. And it's also a really cool way to explore these older movies in a newer, fresher light. So the first audio commentary will be released on April 17th, 2025, and it will be The Craft. Now, this is a really funny movie to start with. I think it's the perfect movie to start with for a Scream podcast, because you don't want to start with Scream. You want to build up to Scream. I want to make sure that I have the kinks worked out in performing audio commentaries, because it's a different type of stamina and a different muscle in podcasting, right? That you have for doing something where you're talking nonstop for an hour and a half versus going back and forth with other people and having different segments and stuff. So therefore, I'm going to just delay doing the Scream movies for audio commentaries until later in the year, and we'll start with Scream 1 in December, and then Scream 2 in January, Scream 3 in February, right before the release of Scream 7. How fun is that? And then we'll do 4, 5, and 6 after Scream 7 is released. So I love that idea. I love that plan. But before then, we are going to be starting with The Craft. So now this is the movie starring Neve Campbell. It was released in 1996. The Craft is a very unique movie in the history of the 90s lore, because it was one of the only movies to come out right before Scream that truly left an impact on the teen horror genre from the back half of the 90s. And it just so happens that it also stars Neve Campbell and Skeet Ulrich, the Billy and Sydney, right? In The Craft 6 months before they're in Scream, which would go on to be one of the most legendary slasher movies of all time. But The Craft is cool because it's almost like a prologue to the horror genre in the 90s before Scream came along, and then just totally changed everything. So The Craft is unique in its own right, but also there's a lot of Scream in there. And I think a lot of Scream fans do love and have respect for The Craft. And if anything, it's just because that's also one of Neve Campbell's most famous movies. So I'm really proud to come to you and give you an audio commentary of it. So I will be the only person on the audio commentaries. It's just simpler and cleaner for, to have one distinct voice as opposed to trying to coordinate guests. I want to save the guests for more appropriate segments on the main show. And please don't worry if you don't want to actually sit in front of your TV and play the movie while you're listening to the audio commentary, because I'm designing it in a way and I'm performing the audio commentaries in a way where you can still listen to it like it's a normal podcast. Like I want to have substantive points that it's not just me reacting like I'm watching something, like you see these all the time on YouTube, right? Of like my first time watching Scream 4, Jill's the killer, like gasp, big eyes. Like, no, that's not what I'm doing here. My goal with the audio commentaries is to present really smart analysis about the movie, about the characters, about what the film is trying to say within the story that it's telling, the themes, the filmmaking, the directing, the editing, stuff like that, and how it connects to the larger culture and how everything ties into Scream. Like that, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about with Ryan C. Showers, is how does everything relate back to Scream? So... And so, at the end of the day, it's a really big risk to veer away from the podcast formula that has been working for many years, which has been to have a privatized episode every month, and then normal episodes, right? So 3 normal episodes, 1 privatized. But I think it's better and cool and fresh and fun to do something like this. And I personally find it very artistically fulfilling. I've already done the Craft recording and it went really well. I had a great time doing it, and I felt accomplished after I was done. So, but after The Craft, we have so many cool movies coming up. They include Final Destination. That's going to be in May. So that will be released in the middle of May. So that's the other thing. I'm going to plan on releasing these episodes in the middle of the month and like on a Thursday. So the main show will always be on a Tuesday and the commentary will always be released on a Thursday. So going from there, so we'll have Final Destination in the month of May to correspond with the new Final Destination movie, Final Destination Bloodline. lines. Also, this is the 25th anniversary year of Final Destination. And, it's funny, like how things, I was thinking about this, like The Craft in a way started, like it was like the prologue to the Scream era, and Final Destination is almost like the epilogue to the Scream era, because the Final Destination released in March right after Scream 3 had ended, right? So you had like both of these movies, The Craft and Final Destination, kind of sandwiching Scream 1, 2, and 3, these titanic, massive, successful slasher movies that had the same director, the same writers, and same actors. So I just think it would be cool to see those two back to back and just see how did the horror genre change over that time period. So anyways, so May will be Final Destination. Then in June, I'm going to bring to you Scary Movie. And this is really has the potential to be, I think, one of the best episodes I've ever done of this podcast, because, Scary Movie, Scream fans either love it or hate it. Either we find joy in the fun of it, or we are very insulted by it. And I have been a Scream fan that has been both of these people. So I just think the idea of like looking at Scary Movie through the lens of a Scream fan, and someone, let's be real, like a Scream fan who takes Scream very seriously, like on an academic level. I mean, that is what this podcast has been designed as being, is like, I'm the film critic meets the fan. So I think having that perspective of watching Scary Movie and reacting to it in real time, and being a fan of I Know What You Did Last Summer as well, because Scary Movie covers both of those movies, I think will be a lot of fun and very cool. So that, and also Scary Movie is celebrating its 25th anniversary. You want to talk about like the book ending of Scream, Scary Movie really did mark the end of the Scream era in a lot of respects. A lot of people think that Scary Movie, was part of the problem of why Scream 4 wasn't more successful at the box office, because Scary Movie kind of, it really changed the way Scream was looked at. So I'm really excited to dive into that in June. Then after that, I'm so excited. Like I can't get over the excitement here about I Know What You Did Last Summer. So it's hard because we have a new I Know What You Did Last Summer movie coming, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr., or at least, they appear. So we don't know what their roles are, but Jennifer Love Hewitt has posted a photo of herself as Julie James on set with the director. And it got me really, it got the fan in me, really, really pumped. I would say I Know What You Did Last Summer would be in like my top 10 favorite movies of all time, along with the original trilogy and H2O. And I feel like there is such an opportunity for I Know What You Did Last Summer to have a moment like that Scream 5 did, right? And even though Jennifer Love Hewitt won't be the main character, which is depressing, like it's hard for me to sit here as a Scream fan. And this is why, if you've noticed in my reaction so far, like I Know What You Did Last Summer has had, I haven't been as like over the top, about it, because it's hard for me in one breath to be cheering on and to be defending Scream 7 with every fiber of my being, with like my life depends on it, because Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox are going to be the focus again, and Kevin Williamson is back, and then for I Know What You Did Last Summer to do the requel formula that no one really, really likes, after the dust settles and after the adrenaline wears off. But I'm still looking forward to it, and I have faith in this director. I think that she's great. So regardless, I Know What You Did Last Summer will be the audio commentary in July. My plan is to release it on the earlier side, so that the audio commentary comes out before the new movie comes out. I think that would be really cool. Then in August, which is my birthday month, I am doing another movie I just referenced, Halloween H2O, one of my favorite movies of all time. My favorite Halloween movie. To me, Halloween H2O it should be like, Scream 2.5. Like it belongs in that era of Scream. So that will be in August. And actually, Halloween H2O was released in August back in 1998. So that's also why I feel like I can get away with it this time. And then in the fall, I would like to hit A Nightmare on Elm Street. I would love to study what Wes Craven did with that original film. I want to do, John Carpenter's Halloween in the month of October, and then kind of just slowly gear up for the Scream trilogy at the end of the year. I may also try to throw in a Buffy episode here or there. Like I feel like audio commentary of like Buffy, I Once More with Feeling, or Hush, or doing like the Dark Willow episodes, or like the Becoming Part 1 and 2. I feel like that would be really cool for fans, because there's a lot of Buffy overlap, and we're getting a Buffy reboot, so I feel like that's also worth doing. Anyways, that is kind of the general plan for the audio commentaries. We're going to really, we're going to dip our toes in, kind of start to examine and think critically about the time around Scream, and then get a little deeper with some of the greats, like I Know What You Did Last Summer in H2O, and then the classics, and then work our way up to Scream 2, Scream 3, and then Scream 7 will be here, which is fun, right? And then after Scream 7, I'll do 4, 5, and 6. And then we'll take it from there. I hope people enjoy these. I hope people show up for them. I hope that people become interested in them. I think that this is something that could be a real point of nostalgia for people. Even if you're just listening to the audio commentaries, just, like a normal podcast while you're driving around in your car or walking through the woods, right? I think, the way that we did The Craft, I literally talked nonstop for 90 minutes, 95 minutes. And, I would often allude to what's going on the screen, and summarize. One thing that was fun about the audio commentary for The Craft was I was in the middle of making a good point that I had thought of, that I had taken time to think of. And then something happens and someone pops up and I'm just like, no, you cut into my academic exercise. So anyways, guys, please subscribe to the Patreon. I'm Scream with RCS. Any tier will get you access to the audio portion, just the pure audio. And that will be released on the middle Thursday of the month. We're also trying to work it out so that Patreons at higher tiers are able to see me watching the movie. And not that anybody would, right? I don't know. But my friend TJ Jones, he's the graphic designer, coordinator, producer of Scream with Ryan C. Showers. And he had this idea and we're working on it. So I hope that if you want to watch that, I know that it's very popular on YouTube to watch people watch stuff. So we'll see how it goes. But anyways, everybody, please subscribe at Scream with RCS. Any money that is donated to the podcast goes back into the podcast. And I mean that literally. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you on April 17th for The Craft. And we'll see you throughout the year for the rest of these awesome movies that I get to study, watch, rewatch, and then perform an audio commentary for.
Scream with Ryan C. Showers is made possible by supporters like you. All copyrighted material used or referenced in this show belong to their rightful owners and made possible by the Fair Use Act.
And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
Get another beer, you want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back!